Welcome one, welcome all. It's time for NCAA Men's Hoops at the Division III level as the visiting Cardinals of North Central College head north to Kenosha to take on the Firebirds of Carthage. Hello, everybody. Good evening from Kenosha off the beautiful lakefront of Lake Michigan alongside my broadcast colleague this evening, Eric Elger. I'm Peter Ferreri. Eric, thank you for being with us on the broadcast this evening. Glad to have you up here in the booth. You might hear his sounds, a familiar voice, as he often does the PA announcing here at Tarble. So for those listening at home, you're like, wait, I know that guy. Usually down there, now you're up here. Welcome to the booth. We're excited to have you as we're getting close to Game 3 of conference action for North Central. Who do you feel has led the way for that Cardinals squad as they're up here in Kenosha today?
Yeah, thanks, Pete. Glad to be here. A different perspective than where I'm normally at during the game. But a Cardinal I'd like to highlight tonight is Ken Thomas, who is their leading rebounder and someone who's going to be a force down low for the Cardinals tonight. He is a transfer from Albion College, where he was a all-conference performer at 16 points per game, 7 rebounds per game last season. And when you look at his chart, it's all around the basket. So there is going to be some nasty work down low between him and Campbell. And at 240 pounds, he's got great footwork, he's physical, and it's going to be a tough matchup down low for the Birds tonight.
On the flip side, I guess you can call it the Battle of the Birds, as the other Redbird squad, the Firebirds, what a season they've had so far. You and I talked about it. We've been around this program for quite some time now. 6-1 overall, 1-0 in conference play, already knocking off number 1 UW-Whitewater. Every game that's been close, they found a way to win. Who's led the way for you so far for this home Firebird squad?
Well, someone I think has made a little bit of an underrated difference for the team is A.J. Williams, and tonight with Antoine Nesbitt out of the lineup, I think Coach Jurkovic is really going to look to AJ to really step up the minutes tonight. He's been playing 22 minutes so far, but I would expect to see that number bump up, and he's just a tough transfer guard they've picked up in the offseason, and his defensive presence has been a calming presence for Coach Jurkovic. You know he can lock up whoever he's on, and when he's open, he's been knocking down three-pointers at a 50% clip, 13 at 26 on the season. So look for him tonight to step up in the absence of Nesbitt.
Yeah, again, just to make everybody aware, and we might mention during the broadcast, just general illness right now by Nesbitt. Should be healed up for this weekend. Nothing major, nothing severe, more of a precautionary measure secondary to his illness. What have you seen? Let me ask you this, Eric. What have you seen this season in particular, out of all your years being around this program, that's just different? Because for me, you can use the phrase, oh, just a different vibe, but it's truly something different, something special that Coach Jurkovic has brewing here in Kenosha.
Well, something I've noticed with the team over the past few years, sometimes they've had to be kind of reliant on one scorer. For instance, even Filip Bulatovic a few years ago, sometimes it felt like it was give it to Phil, see what he can do. Now with the depth that they have, everyone can score on the floor. And I think what I've noticed is it seems like it's a lot of guys chipping in 11, 12 points. And when you add that up at the end of the game, everybody's having fun contributing. That really has led to a consistent offensive performance for this team.
On the flip side, we talk about where things are for North Central. Again, maybe not the season they wanted so far. Started off the season not in the best of light. 1-4 overall, losing to not only Cal Lutheran, Aurora, Anderson, and Benedictine, but they do have 2 wins in their last 2 games. A very close victory against Augustana, 61-59, and a 10-point victory over Wheaton. Their 2 most recent victories, also CCIW victories. So they're really starting to find a groove on their own as well.
Yeah, no victory is a given in the CCIW. So no matter how the preseason went before they got to the CCIW conference, picking up 2 early conference wins really shows the kind of tough team that they are. And with the 3 5-year seniors that they'll be starting, you know they're going to be experienced. You know they're going to be out there for each other with the toughness, and it's going to be a tough matchup here tonight.
Yeah, pep band in attendance, cheer squad here, dance team. It's a special night. It's a holiday-themed night, as after tonight they go back into non-conference play. So a lot of festivities that we will have you join while they occur here at Tarble Arena. We're going to take a timeout now for the national anthem and introductions, so don't go anywhere, folks. We're proud and pleased that you are with us on this Wednesday evening in Kenosha on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. For Eric and myself, we'll be right back.
Evening CCIW men's basketball game between the North Central College Cardinals and your Carthage College Firebirds. At this time, we ask you to please direct your attention towards the American flag at the north end of the arena. It draped over the coffin of Captain Frank Vavrin, a former Carthage student who died in Vietnam in 1970. The flag is a gift to the college from his parents. In remembering Captain Vavrin, we pay tribute to all who have sacrificed their lives for our country and honor those who today put themselves in harm's way in service to America. At this time, please rise if able and remove your caps for the playing of our national anthem by the Carthage College Pep Band. Fans, it's time to meet tonight's starting lineups. First, for the visiting Cardinals of North Central. Number 0, Ethan Hellwig. Number 4, Nick Smolt. Number 23, Ken Thomas. Number 24, Ericus Gerskis. And number 32, Brian Johnson. The head coach of the Cardinals is Vince Cummick. Coach Cummick is assisted by Alex Washington, Aaron Tignes, and Matt Hellwig. Firebird fans, get on your feet. It's showtime!
They say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can X around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, but they got what the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Make way for the king. Make way for the big shots, big balls, big rings, big rocks, big bag, big moves, big cars, big man, big plan, get lost, we've been this wrong. Look at me now, can't hold me down, so give me the crown. We're not the same, we're not the same, we're not the same, we run everything. We're not the same, we're not the same, they ain't got what's running through these veins. Make way for the king.
And now, the starting lineups for your Carthage College Firebirds! At guard, a 6'3" sophomore from Whitney Young High School, and hailing from Chicago, Illinois, number 4, A.J. Williams. At guard, a 6'7" freshman from Oswego East High School in Oswego, Illinois, number 10, Ryan Johnson. A 6'5" forward, a senior from Maine South High School, and hailing from Hardwood Heights, Illinois, number 11, Philip Ulanovich. At guard, a 6'3" junior from Oswego East High School in Oswego, Illinois, number 15, A.J. Johnson. And the man in the middle, a 6'8" sophomore from Palatine High School and hailing from Chicago, Illinois, number 50, Julian Campbell. The coach of the Firebirds is Steve Jarakovic. Coach Jarakovic is assisted by Brad Emmer, Quincy French, Noah Howard, Keenan Baltimore, Josh Washburn, and Nick Wolf.
And welcome back to the broadcast booth. Starters are on the court. Alongside my broadcast colleague once again, Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri. Firebirds wearing their road grays, red numbers and letters, black trim. And the visiting North Central Cardinals, their maroon jerseys, white numbers and letters, black trim. Eric, talk us through the starters today.
Well, as you can see, as we talked about, the North Central Cardinals sticking with their experienced lineup. No surprises there. But we do see Ryan Johnson for the Firebirds step into the lineup alongside his brother for the first time in his Firebirds career.
Tip-off, Campbell actually got contact on it, but coming away with it is number 24, Eric Gerskus. We're underway here in Tarble Arena. So again, as mentioned, the brothers getting the start. Nesbitt, the starting point guard, out today with an illness, so they're going big. They're going Campbell and Johnson. They're usually the starting center of Campbell, and Johnson's the sixth man right off the bench. They're going big right off the bat.
Yeah, they think with matching up with the size down low for the Cardinals that, you know, Ryan Johnson's really been showing a lot of poise as a freshman early on and getting his first start. Look to make his mark.
Pump faking going off to the right, A.J. Williams. So have the two A.J.s in the lineup as well. So two Johnsons, two A.J.s, and a partridge in a pear tree. Layup down and good. That's going to count, and it does. Carthage gets the first 2 points.
Yeah, there you go. He's getting his first start and already getting on the board. Ryan Johnson, a little bit of a short little jump shot there in the lane to get Carthage on the board first.
Ryan Johnson on the season is middle of the pack for scoring, averages just about 6.5 a game as first 2 points on the board for the visiting Birds, and that's going to be number 23, Ken Thomas.
So as I highlighted earlier, Ken Thomas looking to get the ball down low, and his shot chart is right around the hoop, and that's where he knocked down his shot.
Nothing but the bottom of the net for number 15, the phenomenal A.J. Johnson, the Oswego East product, or as we like to call Johnson the Elder. Passing inbounds, along top of the key, looking for an opportunity. Campbell giving a bit of an arm's length distance. Johnson tries to fight for it, still on the ground. Somebody's going to try to come away with it. Baladovic, and a jump ball is going to be called, and Baladovic, one of his countless strengths for this team, is just the word hustle.
Exactly, and Buladovic, as we, you know, Carthage matches their fifth-year senior with the experience of Buladovic, and that's something he has always provided, toughness, getting on the floor, and as a senior leader, that's what you look for to make their mark on the younger Firebirds out there.
Johnson streaking into the left side, look for a pass, and they are going to call a foul, so not happy about it as Johnson left his feet, didn't really have a place to go, but was fouled in the sequence by number 4, Nick Smolt out of Plainfield East, a St. Norbert University transfer. Baladovic now trying to back in contact, almost triple teamed, got a pump fake, rolls around the right finger, and again, the countless strengths of Baladovic. And he also made his first three-pointer of the season in their last contest, so, you know, he's upped his free throw percentage, he's making threes, hustling for the ball, but doing what he's known for, and that's scoring in the paint.
That's a classic Buladovic bucket there.
Ethan
Trying to answer right back and doing so, Ethan Hellwig out of Aurora, a Merrimack College transfer. So quite a few transfers for the North Central squad. Merrimack, St. Norbert, College of DuPage, a COD school, along with Albion College, where the home Firebirds, not as much of a transfer school, but we'll talk about that more throughout the broadcast. Campbell came in last year as a true freshman, shed 40 pounds in the offseason, and his fitness level, as you can see, it's all over the map.
Yeah, that's made a lot of difference in his overall ability to stay on the floor and continue to contribute, and shedding some of those pounds, and it really helped his quickness as well.
you may think, okay, well, if you lose that much weight, you're not as much of a presence in the paint. It went from, we'll just say weight to muscle, as you're still not backing in Campbell.
Oh, he didn't lose any of his
North Central basketball.
his strength, we'll say, at all.
Well, something Coach Jarakovic said, when we were around the first game of the season, he said, look, last year he came in, true freshman, didn't have his conditioning underneath him, decided late he was going to join the Firebird squad, and then on top of that, he got injured early on in the season, so really never caught up to speed until the end. This year, full off season, full strength conditioning, health, wellness, everything under the sun. And boy, oh boy, has he shown his presence, the leading scorer for the squad, just about 17 points a game.
Yeah, and there's the matchup we were pointing out, is going strength on strength there with
15,
Ken Thomas backing into Julian Campbell there, and that is a battle you'll expect to see all night.
9-4 your score, opening quarter of action from Tarble. Foot looked like it was on the line. It was. Fouls up his own rebound. Good bounce for Gurkis. Trying to find an outlet and getting in the lane. Ryan Johnson fights for it, passes off A.J. Williams. And that was one of the Achilles heels last season for this Firebird squad, those quick passes down the paint. Boy, have they figured that one out. Baladovic, the sky hook. And 11-4, a quick start for Carthage. Timeout may be coming soon for Coach Kamick.
So yeah, Buladovic again provides that nice offensive option for the Firebirds, and there's that timeout you predicted.
Well, you get a feel for things standing up, as we call it. Now, see, again, welcome everybody to the broadcast on this Wednesday evening. Eric Elger alongside me. Some of our other broadcasts, they call where we stand the nest, but they're trying to change it into the perch. We'll get your opinion as the day goes on or the game goes on. I don't know how I feel about perch versus nest. But point being, from our vantage point, it's easy to see when the coaches are kind of feeling it and kind of saying, okay, which way you're going to go. And you can almost feel when it was 9-4 that, head coach Kamick was ready to call a timeout. So it's kind of like, okay, when the next point happens, that's going to be a timeout. But looking where the point scorers are, Coach Baladovic with 4, and out of the 4 points for North Central College, Hellwig with 2, and Thomas with 2. So 50% from the field. They just haven't really gotten as many shots off after the 3 steals already for the Firebirds.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts, actually, being down there when I'm PA announcing, is you're right next to the coach. And yeah, I've heard some upset coaches over the years. Not always big fans of some of the calls they're getting.
Sure. Well, you've probably heard a lot of things. I've joked with Coach Steve Jarakovic many times this year. I said, Coach, you're a lot more calm this year. Is something wrong? Are you okay? And he just kind of laughs, because a lot of times, again, from way up here in the rafters in seasons past, I can hear very clearly what he is saying. Not so much this time around.
Well, he's been forged in the fires of his dad, Bosco Jarakovic. So if there's someone to learn from about how to be intense and really show your emotion out there, that is his dad was one of the best.
Like father, like son, and right now this team is really firing on all cylinders. Let's see if they continue their winning ways. However, North Central, we talked about a little hot streak of their own. 2 wins in their past 2 contests. Both happen to be conference play. Long range 3, nothing but the bottom of that. Ethan Hellwig finds the 3 ball. He is 14 for 42 coming into the day, so make that number 15. And again, he's the team leader in scoring at 13 points a game.
Yeah, probably the best offensive player, and really knocked down a tough shot there.
The smooth operator of Campbell, able to back down low. Can't stop him. You can only hope to contain Campbell, already up to 4 points.
And getting those easy buckets just keeps the offense ticking as Campbell bringing down a rebound on the other end.
13-7, just over the 5-minute mark in the opening quarter. Last conference game before both teams go on a little bit of a non-conference holiday break. Williams looks for it at 3-point line, rolls around, no good. You and I have been around the CCIW for quite some time. There's pros and cons to everything, but one thing that coaches like is, hey, we're about to hit finals week. We don't want players distracted with that. Let me say it like this. We don't want players to have any distractions. We don't want them to be distracted away from basketball because they know they have to study extra for finals. And on the flip side, we don't want them to be distracted from their studies because we're in the heart of conference play. So for all intents and purposes, it's been kind of a nice adjustment. Let's get these out. Let's get these first few conference games in. Let's take a break, go to non-conference to get our feet wet again, and then we'll come right back into conference play. Shot up and good, 13-9. So sticking around is going to be Howig, and that's kind of something we talked about in the pregame, Eric, is, this North Central squad, albeit the record doesn't show that they've had this, outstanding beginning of the season, they're getting hot at the right time. But Balatovich delivers the big boo, the two-hand slam, 15-9, and answering right back is the Firebirds.
Bulatovich, one of the dunkers on the team, along with Nesbitt, probably taking over for Antoine because he's not on the court tonight, so he's slamming one home for the Firebirds in his absence.
That one, a three ball, answering right back now is their own number 11, Drew Gaston, out of Indian Creek High School, right back to within 3. And also to note, and for all intents and purposes, I don't necessarily see Nesbitt even on the sideline. So again, I am sure this Firebird squad, when that news came in, said, hey, all right, we're going to make our adjustments. And to note as well, Johnson, the younger, also out of the game right now. And so as we see, I believe Colton Sigel has checked in, and indeed so. Colton Sigel out of Rock Island, Illinois, the 6'2 junior. More of a rotational player this time around. But again, Coach Jarakovic has a strong 7, 8, and 9 players he likes to rotate. And that's
looks like a moving screen there.
Yeah, foul's going to be called on Carthage. So North Central, that is going to be called on Campbell. So North Central now on the Cardinals. Taking over possession, a 3-ball can tie it up.
Yeah, Colton Sigel is a nice option off the bench. Just one of your snipers that when you need a little quick offense, Coach Jarakovic brings him off the bench, and he has not met many threes he does not like, that's for sure.
Yeah. Not only Sigel, Campbell, he likes the 3-ball too. That one just misses. Going to be foul called against Balatovich. But also the likes of Tanner Lamb, not afraid to take the 3-ball when he's in the game.
Lamb knocked a big 3 down the game ago, where the tide was kind of turned a little bit on the Firebirds, and Lamb knocked down a 3 to kind of keep Augustana at bay.
From the free throw line, Campbell can't find the bucket. Right back to North Central. But something to keep in mind as well, without Nesbitt being available, you wonder, okay, what type of rotation, what type of depth, what singular player may be the one that gets that extra playing time. We saw Johnson in the starting lineup, as we see, I believe, the aforementioned Lamb about to check in. Let's see if foot was on line. Foot indeed was within the line. Up to 9 points now for Ethan Hellwig. It's 15-14. Firebirds lead cut to 1.
Yeah, Hellwig's a cool operator there on the court, and that is a smooth 9 that it's going to be tough to keep him from continuing that offensive output.
Hellwig 4 for 4 from the field, including a 3-ball. My goodness, he is the offense right now for the Firebirds. So Williams and Campbell check out. Tony Bernero checks into the contest, and that's a player in his own right. He didn't see any action this past weekend against Augustana at all, and he's usually, in your 3 to 4 person rotation at center. Balatovich finds another basket, but Bernero already in the game now.
Yeah, well, when anyone's missing out of that starting lineup, everyone seems to shift up a little bit, have a bigger role, and Bernero, someone who, as you mentioned, didn't get playing time last game, but as a coach's son, you would know that Anthony Bernero always ready to go, ready to contribute anyway his team needs him.
Looking for the 3-ball. That one, the first miss, bounces out of play. Balatovich will just let that one go. 3-point lead still for Carthage. And another player Coach Jarakovic and I have talked about. And again, if you're just tuning in for the first time, thank you for joining us. And we also do indeed have a post-game show live on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. So immediately following the contest, Coach Jarakovic joins us up here in the booth /nest/perch to be determined. And, talks about a plethora of things. But one thing we talked about in the recency of this season was a player like Nemi Ostojic, who out of Maine South High School, a lot of playing time last year, not as much this time, but he said he's usually the leader of the scout team. He said we usually say whoever's the best player on the opposite team, that's who Nemi ends up being for us during practice. He said, so yeah, you may not see him get a lot of reps and a lot of minutes on the court, but he is vital to our success this season for that very reason.
Yeah, you can tell the guys really love playing with Nemi.
Anthony Bernero.
Hook shot, Bernero checks in. and gets his first points of the evening.
Yeah, Nemi gets a lot of smiles on the bench,
Yeah.
and I've seen him giving high fives to young fans. So, every role matters on a team, and if you're not in the starting lineup or on the court, Coach Jurkovic's still looking for contributions no matter what role you have.
Tyler DeSilvio misses that bucket. Looking for a three. No good, hard off the backboard. Do we have a foul or a jump ball? I believe indeed it's going to be a foul. Tanner Lamb likely to be called with the whistle out of Salt Lake City, Utah.
Colton a little long on that three attempt.
His first.
You look to see if he makes that adjustment, but it was almost like it was a quick three early in the shot clock. Maybe pass the ball a little around a little bit, see if you can get a open look, but a little long on the first attempt.
Williams now playing tough. Right at center court in the circle. Passing in one time. Bernero now lined up defensively in the paint. Pushed behind, swiped by Lamb, still on the ground. Might have a jump ball. And indeed we do. That's that swiping that's been happening so much in this near quarter of the court, Eric, where, whoever's backing in the paint, the perimeter defender is just turning around, taking a swipe at it, and it's the second time it's worked this evening thus far.
Well, Bernero's going to need some help there matching up one-on-one with Ken Thomas. So Lamb popping in there to swipe the ball, pick up a jump ball, really helping out the team. And, yeah, the Firebirds' hands have been active, and there's been quite a few jump balls that they've been diving on the floor. So credit to the hustle on defense for the Birds.
Up and no good is Ken Thomas, looking for the old-fashioned three, the Albion College transfer. Can't find it. But again, that's a player you talked about in the pregame. They got to find a way to feed him because he is such an important part to this team as a whole. Not only offensively averaging just under 12 points a game, but of course their rebound leader coming into today with 43 rebounds and already on today one to add on to that.
Yeah, you could tell that they went right back to him after Lamb poked the ball out. They got the jump ball. It went right back to him the next possession. So I think they're looking to take advantage of that height difference between Bernero and Thomas. And with the lineup that they have on the court, I would expect North Central to keep pounding it down low.
Lamb open for three. The kick. And good. Tanner Lamb injects the three into his veins, 22-15. I always appreciate Lamb's follow-through. It's kind of like when he feels that his legs just kind of shoot out to the side.
He does throw that foot out there, but whatever you need to do to knock down the shot, I'm sure Coach will not matter what it looks like.
Well, in their game this past weekend against Augustana, he had an opportunity for a 4-point play because he did that very shot attempt, got fouled on the way for that very kick out.
Yeah, I know the coach of Augustana was really arguing about that, but I think the ref called the in the cylinder call, so that's where Lamb got the call. It wasn't because he kicked his leg out. The ref told him, and it is that. So that was the explanation that I was able to hear down there.
Well, and again, from my vantage point up here, it's not like the contact was made on the toe or on the foot. It was on the body. It just so happened because of where the leg was, it looked accentuated. But it was truly, right in the hip region. That one no good by Sigel, 22-15. Sigel still looking for his first points of the evening.
And Coach Jurkovic taking A.J. Johnson off the bench.
Driving in behind the back. Nice play. Can't finish it off is Terrence Moncrief, the Joliet West grad.
Did everything except finish the play. Yeah. Getting the bucket there, and really an uncontested layup that, fortunately for the Firebirds, was not able to go down.
Timeout on the court. We'll keep it here, 22-15 your score. Alongside my broadcast colleague, Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri. Eric, just talk us through, what have you seen so far in the numbers? Anything that stands out to you? Both teams shooting quite well. However, Carthage, last game weren't doing so hot until they turned it on at the end. Already today starting at a 55% clip.
Well, when you look at Carthage, getting contributions up and down the lineup, they already got 6 guys on the board with some buckets. And for North Central, it's really been Hellwig with his 9 points to pace them so far. So You wonder if the Firebirds keep contributing up and down this lineup. If one man like Hellwig, it's going to be hard for him to continue to keep the pace with the Firebirds, and that's where you think Ken Thomas is going to have to share some of that scoring load and be the firepower the Cardinals are looking for to keep up with the offense of Carthage.
Inbounding. Johnson-Williams back to Johnson. Man defense right now for the visiting Cardinals. Kept things fairly close so far. Neither team dwindling most of the shot clock until this possession. As Johnson gets fouls, I believe it's going to be called on the ground.
North Central foul on number 23.
So
Ken
resetting
Thomas.
the shot clock to 20, and Johnson will take the inbound.
His first team.
Yeah, A.J. Johnson coming in for Sigel. I think Coach Jurkovic saw a few early misses. Not that he's not expecting the Sigel to get back on the board, but maybe looking for a little bit of a different option off the bench and bringing A.J. back.
Beautiful
North Central
pass.
foul on number 23. Ken
Just
Thomas.
lollipopped it to Campbell,
Team 6.
turned around.
At the line.
Almost
Julian
had the
Campbell, shooting
three-point opportunity, but got fouled on the way up. So Campbell will head to the line for 2.
And that's 2 fouls on Ken
North
Thomas
Central, number
as
0,
he gets
Hellwig.
subbed for by Coach Kamick. You don't want him to pick up a 3rd foul here with 8 minutes to go, still in the half.
So first free throw attempts for any Firebird player. Campbell 0 for 1. Let's see if he can even it up. And he can. Coming into today, Julian Campbell 20 for 24 from the free throw line. Again, just the all-around growth of Campbell as a player, not afraid to take the 3, doing excellent at the free throw line. Already has a CCIW Player of the Week accolade, and you know, as the coaching staff told me, Eric, there's gonna be a lot more of those to come.
Yeah, especially as a sophomore, you can see how much he's grown from year 1 to year 2. And just how versatile he is. If you need him to go down low, he can go down low. If the team's got to play a little smaller, he can get out in the three-point line and knock down some shots out there too. So he can do it all.
3 ball up and good, making it rain. Lead extended to double digits, 26-15. First points, a 3 ball, A.J. Williams.
New hairdo, same results on the jump shot, knocking down a 3-pointer.
Quick answer back by Gaston. So that's a situation where, you know, every time Carthage has tried to take a little bit of momentum, whether it's a dunk, whether it's a 3, it seems to be that's when North Central immediately responds.
Yeah, you rarely see it. It seems like a team can just pull away because in the depth of this conference, up and down, every team has got a lot of talent. And as we mentioned with North Central getting a couple of conference wins, those mean a lot, and every victory is earned here in this conference.
Number 11, Philip Bladovich.
Johnson looks off to the left-hand side. Quick bounce pass.
Wonder without Thomas in the lineup for the Cardinals, looks like Carthage spread it out a little bit.
Not the worst idea as Campbell, Bladovich gets the offensive putback, then Campbell, and then finally coming up after a scrum was Gurkis. Swinging around to the left-hand side, looking for a 3. Campbell, hand in the face. That's a tough one to shoot against when you had the height disadvantage. Long range 3.
Hellwig
Who else?
for 3.
Ethan Hellwig.
Timeout, Carthage.
12 points already. He has over 50% of the points for North Central. 12 out of 20. And when he's in the game, it's hard to stop.
Yeah, there he is again, and with the other members of North Central not quite knocking down shots yet, to have someone as reliable as Hellwig to just continue to put the pressure on the Carthage defense, that is what has kept them afloat, and only down 6 with 6.5 minutes to go. Hellwig has been tough to stop so far.
6-point lead for the Firebirds. It was as many as 11. 5-point run for North Central. Also to keep in mind, they're 1 for their last 4 from the 3-point line. But how about this for Carthage? Carthage is now getting a little cold, only 1 for 5 in their last 5 attempts. What do you have to do if you're Carthage to kind of get that momentum back and try to finish up the first half strong?
Well, yeah, you want to enter the half finishing strong with that. And we look to see, again, it looks like they're kind of playing 5 out a little bit. They got 2 guys down low, so keeping the ball moving, and there is exactly what you need.
It's like he heard us from up here. He's like, oh, Eric's saying I have to score. Okay. A.J. Johnson now up to 6 points on the evening, lead extended back to 9.
It's got to be tough to play defense against this offense because you really don't know where it's going to come from. Is it going to come from Campbell down low? Is it going to be Ryan Johnson?
Yeah, Ryan Johnson just, you talk about impact players that are young. Think about these past 2 classes, quote unquote, you could say. Jerichovic last year gets Campbell, this year gets Johnson the younger, and they're already 2 of the top players for this Carthage squad, and immediately having a huge impact, to go along with the veteran leadership of Baladovic. Yes, Baladovic, the team, and all, for so many reasons between him and Bernero, the squad and the offense revolves around them. But my goodness, having these 2 other players, truly going to be a bright future for Carthage in years to come.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson, something that stands out to me is just the poise that he has on the court. He looks like a 5th-year senior with the way he plays.
And a hard foul on the way. I mean, Johnson, he hit. That's a tough one. As Drew Gaston, slow to get up. I mean, that was a thud. There is no other way to put it. That was a direct, shoulder, elbow, hip. He's kind of holding his hip right now, and we just flush.
You could feel the thump of the floor up here in the nest, and you wonder if, when a guy his size, it's part of the risk. And when you're going down and taking it to the hoop, there might be some tough fouls. And when you're up in the air like that, there's not a whole lot you can do to really prepare yourself from that fall and see if he shakes it off and knocks down the free throw.
Lead at 7. One good. So 8 points now. We talked about who is scoring for North Central. 20 out of the 23 points between 2 players, Helwig and Gaston. So foul going to be called defensively, and with 7 fouls against North Central, Campbell's going to go to the line.
His first, team
in the bonus.
And that's something as a strength of this team is if you put them at the line, free throw shooters like Campbell, both Johnson brothers,
Julian Campbell,
they're going to come away with knocking down a high percentage of the free throws. And what you've seen at some of the close games is that they can almost lull teams asleep because if you have to foul them, say, sure, we'll just knock them down and keep, we'll go to the line and do what we got to do. And it's hard to come back from a team like that is so well, shoots so well on the free throw line.
Looking for the screen now. Nothing there. Looking for 3. Hits off the front of the rim. No good. Johnson comes away with the rebound. Maybe this is information we can get for next game. I wonder if it was a hard sell to say, hey, come play with your brother, or if it was, that's just easy, Baladovic, not fouled, but off balance, awkward shot, still good lead, back to 10.
Phil is filling it up early with a steady 10 points here. And with Buladovic and all the other offensive weapons, we'll, again, see if North Central can keep pace. And here's the guy.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, really, it's unbelievable.
As we were talking about it, and there is, and when that went up, I had a feeling that was going to go down. And sure enough, it did. And Helwig just keeping his team afloat.
15 points. Coach Kamik right now is really getting in one of the officials' ears. He said he wanted a timeout. The official is saying, hey, Coach, I didn't see you. I didn't hear it. Baladovic high off the backboard, no good. Johnson tries for the rebound. No stepping on the line. North Central and the Cardinals regain possession under 4 remaining in the first half from way downtown. And finally, a rare miss from 3 for Helwig. He's now 3 for 4. I mean, that's Steph Curry range.
Yeah.
Not to say he can't hit it. Clearly, that rolled around and almost went in.
It's nice to see that he's not a robot out there, and seeing him miss a shot, definitely something the Firebirds like to see.
Pass Julian Campbell!
And 1.
Good good and to the line. Campbell now up to 9 points.
And there's
Central
Campbell.
foul, number
Good.
24, Eric Skurskis.
Oh, I like that.
first.
Yeah, I
Have
have
been saving that one?
I have been
shooting
saving that one, yes. I was wondering where to work that in, but Campbell, definitely someone who, like we mentioned, the versatility, and they really don't have a lot of size to match up with him. And I think he's going to continue to take advantage of the smaller lineup that the Cardinals are going with right now.
Let's see if they can stop Helwig and his offensive prowess. I mean, 15 out of the 26 are him. But how about that, trying to
Brian
join the
Johnson
party?
for
Number
three.
32, Brian Johnson.
Timeout, North Central.
Johnson, the 6'6" senior from Glenbrook North. And this North Central squad is not staying away. They are not staying quiet. And just like we said, Eric, anytime you think, okay, can this be the start to a little run for Carthage, immediately North Central stops it where in its tracks.
Yeah, and that's with this senior-laden squad, you know that North Central is not going to lay down at any lead that they are behind. And it's with them, what they are going to have to get going here is some other guys involved. So to see somebody besides the 3 players we've mentioned, so he is just the 4th player on the score chart here. So clearly they're going to need other guys to step up and make some shots. But a 7-point lead, 3 minutes to go here. Steve is really, Coach Jurkovic's really going to look to see if they can extend that. And it'd be interesting what North Central can do to match.
36-29, 3:12 till halftime. Of course, stick around for the halftime show as well as halftime performances from the cheer and dance squads. As both teams now taking the court. Coach. Maybe he wants to be a coach in the future, but Balatovich having a conversation now with one of the officials about where things are at. Again, the officials today, Bobby
Coming out
Daw,
of
Kevin
timeout,
Raher,
Carthage ball.
and Jerry Sissinger. But again, Helwig right now, 15 points. And Gaston right behind with 8. Balatovich and Campbell each with 10 apiece for the home Firebirds.
Something I really noticed for Ryan Johnson out there, it seems like he has been on the floor all night. And again, with a freshman, to just see someone with that much hustle and heart and poise. And there's Campbell again. He is just feasting down low against the Cardinals.
Well, again, it's playing to your strengths. What do you have? What can you do? And, okay, well, if our starting point guard, who's also, our assist leader, 3-ball, not afraid to penetrate, what type of offense do we want to see? What type of defense do we want to see? And right now it's, beautiful 3-ball, Nicky Smolt out of Plainfield East.
He saw Campbell on him there, and I think he knew he had a little bit of a quickness superiority on him, so he took a step towards the basket, took step back 3, and that was knocked down right in Campbell's face there.
Off to the backboard, kisses it in, and good. Campbell now up to 14, so 1 point behind Helwig, who's at 15 of his own. So just such a different scenario. Helwig going for long-range threes. 3 up and good. Another 3-ball for Brian Johnson. So right now the 3-point prowess of the visiting Cardinals, it's showing itself. They're a season-long, we'll say, 286 shooting team from 3, 40 for 140.
Colton Sigel!
And Sigel finally gets his first 3-ball of the game.
I wonder if Coach Jurkovic had a few words of encouragement after he pulled him out after missing 2 early threes, and he gets on the court. Shoot or shoot.
Yep.
And that's just what he did, and knocked down a 3 for the Firebirds.
Oh, my goodness. And just like that, a little bit of a stare at the bench. I don't know if you saw that, but number 22, Sean Malloy, out of Lane Tech, stared the bench down for the Firebirds and actually said a few words. Some of the coaches started laughing, so that'll be fun to hear. Balatovich off the left rim, soft, no good.
Gets right back, though.
Balatovich keeps it himself, fouled on the way up. And going to the line for 2 is Balatovich. Smart play, though, instead of going up for a dunk or a strong layup, got the contact to make sure he's going to at least go to the line
North
for
Central
2.
foul is on number 0.
Flicked it up at the very end.
His second, team 9th.
And second foul now
At
on
the line,
Hellwig.
shooting 2, Philip.
So let's see if they sub him out. But right now we talk about Hellwig, 17 out of the possible 19 minutes he's been in the game.
Checking in for the Firebirds, number
Yeah, we talked about
24,
the free throw
Anthony
shooting
Bernero.
of the Firebirds. Unfortunately for Carthage, Phil Bulatovich, not quite one of their better free throw shooters. Coming into this game shooting at 48%, and he missed the first one there.
Misses them both. But, you know, for what it's worth, against Augustana, it was him at the line with the game on the line, and he delivered.
That's really what matters. Yeah, is can you, when the chips are down,
Yeah.
game's on the line, it doesn't really matter what your free throw percentage is up until that point, is can you make these two?
Hellwig kind of
Ethan
shuffled the
Hellwig.
feet.
A tough turnaround jumper. He's got game inside. He's knocking down shots outside, mid-range. As Coach Jurkovic mentioned, this is probably, he said, probably the best offensive player. I would say tonight,
Yeah.
definitely looks like their best offensive player for this game.
Hellwig averages 13 points a game. He's already at 17. Johnson wants the three ball, rolls around, no good. Bernero can't get the board. With two, with one, shooting from the hip. Oh, just misses off the back rim, but just like that,
At the half, your
in the
score,
Battle of the
Carthage
Birds,
43,
North Central and the
Central
Cardinals
40.
trail now just by 3, being down by as many as 11 against the home Firebirds. Your score, 43-40 for Eric Elger and Peter Ferreri. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, halftime festivities and a halftime report on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Firebird Broadcasting Network. Wanted to make sure you got to see all the fun halftime festivities as we're about to hit holiday breaks here in the CCIW. Again, for my broadcast colleague this evening, Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri. Eric, what have you seen so far? Carthage kept getting a lead, 8, 9, 10, 11 points. Instantly, North Central found a way back, 2 balls, 3 balls. As we see right now, North Central is shooting a beautiful 8 for 13 from the field. They've really done a lot of good things, including that 3-point percentage.
Yeah, you look at Carthage, it's felt like they've been comfortable ahead, but with North Central knocking down 8 3-pointers, that's really what's kept them in this game. And when you look at the stats between the two teams, it is very comparable between field goal percentage, North Central knocking down a few more 3-pointers, but with Campbell's buckets down low, Carthage is shooting a scintillating 57%, but North Central's right there making half of their attempts. So I expect this game to be close all night, and I don't think either team is going to be able to feel comfortable at any point in this game.
On the flip side, we look at Carthage. Again, the biggest lead, 7. The biggest biggest lead, 11. Biggest scoring run, 7 points. They led for 18 and a half minutes out of the 20 in the first. 20 points in the paint. However, they just have to find a way to slow down Hellwig. It's kind of that situation. Maybe you can expound on it, Eric. Do you try to focus more on stopping him, or you just say, we'll let him beat us as long as nobody else does?
Yeah, you've definitely seen that strategy kind of be like, well, I mean, with some of the buckets he's made, you kind of tip your cap and say, well, what else can we do? With a hand in his face, still rising and firing and making it over, outstretched arms. So with Carthage, I think you got to believe that he's not going to shoot, as hot as he did in the first half, and hopefully he cools off a little bit, and then you keep your same defensive pressure on the rest of the Cardinals, and I would think that would be a recipe for success, and with the Firebirds coming out on top tonight.
Yeah, looking individually speaking, offensively for Carthage, of course, we talked about players like Julian Campbell, 14 points, but something you pointed out that I think deserves mentioning, Ryan Johnson, the true freshman, of course, younger brother of A.J. Johnson, 16 and a half minutes of playing time, his first start of his career in college, and already playing most of that first half.
Yeah, Johnson and Johnson with a combined 4 steals, inflicting the pain tonight, not really covering it up as you would expect. But yeah, Ryan Johnson has made a huge difference on the court tonight, getting on the floor, poking the ball free, earning jump balls, a huge contribution so far.
We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, just about 2 minutes away from second half action, 43-40, Carthage leads on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. And welcome back to the Firebird Broadcasting Network. Alongside Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri. Second half action, and we're underway. Teams have flipped sides. Again, lead as much as 11. Cardinals clawed back and flew back 43-40, down 3 along the assassin of 1. Hellwig, 7 for 9 from the field, 3 for 4 from three-point land. As Balatovich pokes from behind to no avail, and the Cardinals have a chance to tie it with a 3.
You wonder now with the important Ken Thomas back in the lineup.
And just like that, another basket for North Central within 1.
Yeah, Campbell was able to feast without Thomas on the floor. I wonder if he's able to slow him down at all. And there's a nice dish from Williams to Campbell.
Campbell up to 16 points now. It's such a tale of two different styles today. You have, down low in the paint presence for Carthage, and just more times than not, long-range 3 balls. From the, for lack of a better term, unintimidating of Ethan Hellwig. It's not like we're sitting here seeing a guy come in with, oh man, he's intimidating. He's
right,
really
a physical presence. Yeah,
he's there, and he's like, oh, I'm just going to keep draining 3 after 3. 7 for 9 again. Balatovich underneath, floats it with the right hand, good. No foul call. Jarakovic thought might have had one, but nonetheless, 47-42. And again, if you saw in the background, that's what I say is the difference this year with Coach Jarakovic. In years past, I mean, he might have been, Bobby Knight throwing a chair out on the court, and that one just nodded his head.
Well, he's happy to get the bucket, but always looking for that and one. Never can stop looking for more calls. If you're a coach, that's part of the job.
Sure.
But you look Carthage early on, they're still just going to slam it down low and keep it cooking in the toaster. And if you think can the Cardinals keep up shooting as hot as they can if Carthage keeps knocking down these 2, and there's Campbell again.
He's one of those players you say to yourself, my goodness, what a find for Carthage. Somebody that wanted to, not go to a big school, wanted to be, have a presence, learn, develop his game, get a great education, because the type of skill set you are sure was getting recruited to, many, many major D1 institutions.
Yeah, I definitely wondered when I first saw him, it's like, he kind of seems so special. You're like, what is this guy doing down in D3? But with Coach Jurkovic kind of being an example himself is, you wonder if Coach Jurkovic, with as good of a basketball player as he was, could he have played at a Division I, II school? But there's something to be said to playing D3 ball and just crushing it as he was the player of the year.
Yeah. Johnson now with another basket.
So, sometimes more fun to be playing more minutes than, trying to scratch out a few minutes for a bigger, larger school. So I think, with the way this team's looking, it's got to be fun to be on the court for the Firebirds.
Campbell pump fakes, turns around. Driving, A.J. Williams finds the easy layup with the left. And just like that, the lead of 3 out of 3.5 minutes into the second half is now extended to 9. Timeout called by the Cardinals. Eric, let's talk about it. Just a quick timeout on the court, but I think you could say a smart timeout by Coach Cumick to just kind of stop things where they stand. Yeah,
it felt like Carthage was kind of getting anything that they wanted, and with A.J. Williams on that last possession, you could tell that they were respecting how good of a three-point shooter as he is, and when they went to close out, he just was able to ghost by his defender and get an easy bucket. And that's something that if Carthage can keep it in the paint and chipping away 2 after 2 after 2, can North Central have the firepower to keep up with it? That's going to be tough to see.
So both teams quickly making their way back out on the court again. When you look at foul trouble, I guess you could say overall nobody's necessarily in, blatant foul trouble, nobody more than 2. So fairly clean game on that front. And again, Hellwig now just quiet, I guess you could say, in the first 3.5 of a very quick second half of action on this Wednesday evening. First Wednesday in December. Happy holiday season.
Yeah, not many fouls, not many free throws. I think that's why that half clipped by so quickly.
Pulls up from the free throw line. That one will stay possession for North Central. That after that bounces out. So second chance points been something that's kind of favored North Central as the visiting squad this evening.
Something I wanted to ask you, have you noticed that it seems the refs are letting them play a little bit more
Yes. Yep.
down by the basket, and I think that's added to an overall better game to watch. It's not so helter-skelter.
Sure.
There, the game is flowing, and it's really been a joy to watch, and I just wonder if that's been a point of emphasis from the refs or if you've noticed that as well.
I think it has been. I think, not that it's been something that I have heard, but if it's not Helwig right now, it's Brian Johnson getting his third three of the night, up to 9 points on those 3 threes.
Yeah, well, he's shooting close to 50% from three, and that's what they're going to need here. You wonder at halftime if Coach for North Central, and there's our own assassin.
Yeah.
We got one too.
Nice way to answer back if you're the Firebirds, kind of the reverse of what we saw in the first half. So A.J. Johnson delivering a three. Nice pass. And again, like I said, every time there's that momentum shift opportunity for Carthage, they just can't string along those few baskets in a row. And North Central back within 7.
Rare look down low there with everyone kind of spread out. Gaston is able to sneak down there and get an easy bucket. Had just one foul apiece so far in these first 5 minutes.
Driving to the lane, Johnson, easy layup, decided, I'm not going to dunk it, just going to lay it up.
I would have bet a lot of money that was going to get thrown down, but the easy layup, kind of like his brother, who just looks so smooth at that layup. Why slam it home when you can just lay it in?
Trying to answer back with a three, no good. Bladovic with the board. My only thought is maybe he was off balance a little bit, or worried he was a little bit too physically in line with the backboard. Bladovic going to be...
And there's nothing worse than clanging a dunk attempt when the basket is right there. All you had to do is lay it up. That is not a good feeling. So yeah, taking the for sure too.
If you're up, like we've seen some games this year, if you're up, 15, 20, 30, okay, sure, make that chance. But I also would probably assume Coach Jerichovic would not be happy with any miss. Campbell turns around, no good from the baseline. Can North Central find a three? There's the opportunity. Bang! I saw it along the left side. Multiple open players for the Cardinals. Just like that. Right back in the thick of it, down 58-52.
Kind of feels like they find the hot hand and ride it, as with Helwig in the first half, and now Brian Johnson stepping up here in the second.
Bladovic hook shot and good. But that's been the reason their back-to-back wins in conference play is the offense started to click. And sweet Lord, they are not missing from three. 15 points for Johnson, all by way of the trifecta.
And
back
just
to within 5.
Just when you think Carthage was pulling away, the timeout from North Central, and there it is. We're only 5-point lead here for Carthage. And the Firebirds look to keep pounding low.
Campbell tries to answer with a three of his own. Williams swats from behind, nothing there. Right now, North Central is pretty... Blocking foul going to be called, I believe, on Sigel. But right now, it's a situation, if you're Carthage, what changes do you make defensively? If you play so hard to prevent another three, then you're leaving the lane open, and that's the last thing you want. And you just kind of say, okay, well, in the world of math, at some point, they're not going to be shooting 61% from the three-point line.
Yeah, that's until you look at the end of the game, and they shot that well from the three-point line. You can see it happen. Just the way they've been shooting it, you can see it happening. But, yeah, if you're Carthage, you got to feel like if we can just stay in our game, they haven't been down, and just keep that 5-point lead the rest of the game, you really hope for, if you're Carthage, that maybe 55% at the end, something a little lower than 61% would definitely help them.
Well, on the flip side, we also have the opportunity to call, some of the women's action here at Tarble Arena. That shot up and good. Back within 3 is North Central, and sometimes there's games where they start out hot and keep it hot, like you stated, and that was why they had a huge conference victory this season so far. But then there's other games where, they're shooting in the 20 percentile, and it never goes above 20. So you're very right. That could just be how things turn out. That is a kick ball. When we look at their most recent game, a 10-point victory against the Wheaton Thunder, just a few days ago on the 2nd of December, they shot, you ready for this, 2 for 12 from three-point land.
Yeah,
Let me repeat it, 2 for 12.
That's the adage, you live and die by the three, but they still, even when they're not shooting that well at the three, they're still able to scratch out those victories. And something I've noticed on the offensive end with Bulatovic at the line here, it seems like North Central is going to live with Campbell shooting the three. And it seems like they're comfortable. It's kind of like with, you got to pick your poison with him. And I think they'll live with him outside the three-point line. But he's been really eating them alive down low with those easy twos he's been able to create.
That one no good by Bulatovic. And then in North Central's 61-59 victory over Augustana, 6 for 28 from 3. So definitely took a lot of three-point attempts, but who would have thought in an away arena, almost a foul call, that they're shooting 61%. Here's another open three. That one no good. Bouncing down, and they're saying possession's going to stay. And again, just the bounce is going the way of North Central. And by let me phrase, by our tone, you may say, well, Carthage is still winning. They are, but there is no way that North Central is out of this by any means. Oh, and was that a foul called or 3 seconds? Wasn't waiting to see what the call was.
Coach Kamick also looking for some clarification there at the North Central bench.
Let's see what the official call is going to be, but
it appears he maybe stepped on the line, stepped over the line, or
maybe it took too long to inbound, but nonetheless, a violation. Bulatovic, has it swatted away by Johnson. Driving in, trying to pull up the dribble, keeps it actually. Look for somewhere to go. They're trying to find Hellwig for 3, but Bulatovic now manning up Hellwig himself, and Williams comes away with the steal. And maybe that's the adjustment, Eric, that Coach Jarakovic has made and said, okay, Bulatovic, you're on Hellwig.
Yeah.
Now I don't care if he makes it or misses, you're on him. Don't let him shoot.
And something to, we talked about how do you slow down a good three-point shooting team. Well, if you steal it from them and they never get a shot, that's one way to slow it down.
Yeah.
And Carthage has been able to get quite a few steals here, and that has been really the only way they with 6 steals on the game. That has been one way to slow down a hot shooting team. Just take it from them. Bernero coming in here to spell Campbell, and if you're Coach Jarakovic, that's what you want. Coming in for the presence of Campbell and putting in your own offensive production, the and one bucket there for Bernero.
Anthony, you can also call me Tony Bernero, delivering a huge, and see, that just shows that the buy-in as the lefty up, that one no good. Johnson tries to run it down, but the buy-in Coach Jarakovic has, hey, I know you got a lot of minutes last year. We got Johnson's younger brother coming in. It's going to be more rotational than what you're used to. Buying right in. Anytime he gets on the court, able to deliver.
A fun fact I've been holding on is that actually was, well, when I talked to him then in class, Anthony Bernero, but Tony Bernero was in my 7th grade math class.
Oh, look at that.
Working the angles there to get the board. Must have learned from some good teachers in his career. Although I think he has a major.
So wait, you went to 7th grade together?
No, I actually taught him in 7th grade. I was a 7th grade teacher.
I was trying to do the math and it wasn't adding up.
Yeah, no. We're a few years apart.
Got it. And then after you taught him, you're like, well, got to retire from 7th grade. That was enough fun.
In the elementary world now, and that's a different ball game for sure.
Oh, boy. Do I know about it.
You're someone who you almost automatic at the free throw line.
And he nails it.
I was worried I was going to do the jinx there. I was really concerned that that was not going to go in.
I was just going to say, you said it out loud. Watch what happens now. Johnson now lining up for his second attempt. Bounces around, no good. Bernero tries to punch it away. Good effort by Bernero, but nonetheless can't find the second one.
Yeah, I know Bernero is one of those. I think he's in one of those all-academic All-Americans. So, but
18 points by Johnson, all 3-pointers. He has now surpassed Hellwig, and it's back to a 4-point game.
Start to wonder at kind of some of the team highs for North Central. I wonder how many threes they've made as a record in a game, because this is getting to the point where still 10 minutes to go. That is, that's something that you don't expect to see quite often.
Well, I'll try to get that information. So far, we know it's not within their past 2 games.
Bernero, again, contributing while Campbell on the bench.
Luckily enough, it's not, at the end of the season where we're having to dig, back in the annals. Against Benedictine, 3 for 18. Okay.
That does not look like this team.
Follow-up, no good. That one tipped away. John's going to come away with it. But here's the thing. Despite all of these 3-pointers made, their defense hasn't been able to slow down what Jerichovic and the Firebirds have tried to do offensively.
Yeah, and that's with Carthage. Something that is nice to rely on is that they got new guys coming in, and even Bernero chipping in some buckets. So that spread out offensive production, I think, is a benefit to the Firebirds. It kind of keeps you from going too hot, too cold with riding one hand.
A.J. Johnson, trifecta of his own, lead back to 9.
That man can shoot it.
Yes, he can.
I wonder if Coach Jurkovic sees a little of himself in A.J. Johnson. Just a similar body type out there, a similar silkiness. And if A.J.'s watching any of the highlights, I wonder if he sees a little of himself in Coach Jurkovic.
Well, you'd have to ask yourself during Coach Jerikovic's time, was that, still on VHS tape, Betamax? Did they have DVDs back then to go watch his footage? I kid.
We're the same age here, so yeah. And Bernero the offense has not stopped one bit of pounding it down low. And even with a all-conference type player like Campbell on the bench, the Firebirds are still hammering it down low and getting freebies along the way.
Bernero makes them both. I say all that in jest. They didn't even have color television when, I was around. So 71-60 your score. Just like that, back to the biggest lead of the evening, 11 points for the Firebirds. And again, it's not been for a lack of offensive effort for North Central, as we see another shot there. Now the full court press softly is coming against the Firebirds.
Yeah, Johnson's showing he doesn't have to shoot a 3 to put a bucket in as he gets the 2. But Carthage is racking up fouls here. And we mentioned earlier in the game is if you're going to foul guys like A.J. Johnson, Ryan Johnson, Julian Campbell, Tanner Lamb, A.J. Williams, really anyone on the floor right now, is that they will shoot that and they'll take each one of those free throws you give them.
All right, so it is confirmed. Thank you to our statisticians, including Sam and John. This is indeed the season high for 3-pointers for North Central. And they've done so with still 8:45 remaining in the game. So odds are I were a betting man, they might make another.
Just wonder where it's going to come from because Hellweg really been held in check. And as I say that, gets the easy bucket.
But you know what, in this circumstance, and I'm sure you'd agree, fine, take a layup at this point. We're tired of these threes. Force them to physically have to drive the lane and make it instead of all these just contested threes. It's not like, oh, we're not going to just guard this guy. Oh, Campbell. Oh, my goodness. The man amongst boys.
That looks easy when he can just turn and face and lay it in like that.
Campbell 7 for 11 from the field. Mark that up, another one, 8 for 12. The big man getting things done. So heading to the line now for 2, second foul is going to be against Ryan Johnson. As Sean Malloy out of Lane Tech on the north side of Chicago.
Yeah, Campbell having kind of one of those Giannis type stat lines where just the efficiency just jumps off the chart, and if he's going to shoot and make almost 70% of his shots there, it's tough to compete against. It's when you're getting that type of production every single time you get it in his hands, you expect to see him feed him more as we go on.
Up and good. As the timeout's going to be called by North Central. We'll stay here, 74-65. So lead was extended back to 11 with those free throws down to 9. We talked about some of the offensive outputs. As we have Hellweg up to 19. Brian Johnson up to 20 of his own. But with all that being said, talk us through some of the highlights here, Eric. What have you seen and what have you liked?
So it's definitely the second half. You could tell Steve was telling him, Coach Jurkovic's pounded down low, and most of the buckets that Carthage have been able to get are high percentage shots. And as a coach, if you see your team continually to shoot it a few feet from the basket, you got to feel good about.
They said if you ever didn't want to suit up for a game, you can wear a team-issued polo. And then last year, very spoiled, got the windbreaker pullover coat.
Oh,
because it gets a little chilly here in the wind tunnel of, Kenosha off the lakefront.
I've not found the windbreaker hookup yet. You'll have to give me that information after the game.
I won't give any hints. Lacrosse team that was thankful enough to hand those out. But, with you being on some of the baseball calls, maybe you get a baseball hat. Maybe a hat would always be a good trade. Haven't gotten any wear, but that's just because I'm a schmuck for hats and collect way too many hats.
Oh, yeah, that is something that I enjoy as well. And Carthage really, you can see no one kind of in the lane at all, spreading it out wide, trying to milk some of the clock out there.
AJ Johnson off balance, legs all wrapped around, finds it, no foul called. Biggest lead of the evening, now up to 12 with 6:40 remaining.
And that's something. And there is Johnson coming up with the bamboozle steal.
He gets it swatted away. Williams, floater, right hand, no good. Campbell, offensive board, up strong, right hand. Everything's coming up Carthage, 79-65.
Starting to exert their dominance here, extending a 14-point lead. And again, hammering it down low, getting second chance points. Can that man for the Cardinals, Johnson, keep it up? Not that time.
And interestingly enough, Bulatovich fouled.
Is this a hack-a-shack situation here?
I think it is. We're now up to 10 fouls. This is the double for Bulatovich. So he's going to get 2.
That looked as intentional of a foul that when 11 gets the ball, he must have been instructed, grab him. And you wonder if it's going to continue. Is Coach Jurkovic going to counter? Or with someone as important as Bulatovich, you just expect him to knock enough free throws down to not make that matter, but missing the first.
No, I think it's a very fair question because right now you have a player like Bulatovich who's, Mr. All Everything, but one of the, Achilles heels for him this season has been that free throw line shooting. And, in years past it was always the 3-ball, but knowing his teammates now can handle a lot of that weight, he doesn't have to shoot it from long range as much as can just kind of do his role underneath. Oh, there's a 3-ball of his own. Number 11, Drew Gaston.
Yeah, that's an interesting point is that, the 3-point attempts have definitely gone down as Bulatovich has continued his career.
Bulatovich just gets the air ball miss, 15 remaining.
When he's looking at his teammates, I mean, he's probably thinking like, well, anyone I pass it to out there shoots it. Maybe he's not going to say better than him.
Yeah.
But I think he understands that the guys around the 3-point line are.
Sure. How about this? For all intents and purposes, they're more efficient this evening.
There you go. And again at the line where someone like Williams, another good free throw shooter. Not as many attempts on the season. He's one of those guys that kind of stays around the 3-point line, so doesn't pick up a lot of fouls, but he's shooting it at 73%, and that's going to raise his percentage even higher.
Well, yeah, and right now, Campbell getting a breather. I also believe Sigel is off to the side getting a breather. Tanner Lamb is now checked in. Up and under.
That was nifty from
And is that
Gaston.
a foul going to be called? Either Williams or Lamb's going to be called for a foul. On the follow, I'm not quite sure.
It's one of those situations you wish you had one of those ref
Yeah.
camera where they talk right into it, kind of bent over awkwardly. But
Okay.
so a foul on Lamb there. The basket counts. It's not an and one, so a foul that happened after the basket. Now it's kind of something you don't see a lot. And they looked like North Central was trying to foul Bulatovich there.
Yeah.
He had his hands on him. The ref didn't give the call, and now it looks like they're going to ride out the rest of the shot clock because you don't want to foul him with 5 seconds left.
Williams looks for the screen. Passes back, just has to do a very off-balance shot. Bernero tries for the rebound, can't come away with it.
Yeah, you expect the Firebirds to really use the clock to their advantage. It's their friend right now, up 11.
The high percentage shots continue for North Central. Up to 19 points now is Drew Gaston. I mean, it's just an offensive output. North Central has not slowed down at all. And when you look at some of their scoring this year, let's look back. 64 against Wheaton. Well, it's more than that. 61 against Augustana. The biggest offensive output this year, 97 against Laverne. This is now already the second highest score for North Central this season, and there's still 4.5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, North Central to me has kind of felt like a relay race team where Hellwig took the baton first, passed it on to Brian Johnson second, and now the baton is clearly in Drew Gaston's hands as he has seemed to make his mark on the game. It just has felt like one guy to the next as they've just rode the hot hand, and being down 9 here, you're going to wonder who's is there one more baton pass for the Cardinal offense, or is it going back to Hellwig and see who's going to make the difference here for the Cardinals?
81-72 for Eric Elger. I'm Peter Ferreri. Appreciate you joining us on this Wednesday evening of CCIW action. It's been a fun one, to say the least. After today, the Firebirds head out of town against number 21 ranked Elmhurst. And then they'll be back home at Tarble against IIT, the Illinois Institute of Technology, and the Scarlet Hawks. That'll be December the 15th, so a week from this Friday.
And when we looked at the first half stats, we mentioned how well both teams are shooting it, and actually both teams have improved their shooting percentage in the second half. So Cardinals up to 51% and Carthage up to 59%. So this has been a shooting display from both ends on the floor.
20 put back on the clock.
And it seems like that Buladovic foul is either that they've taken that away or haven't found the situations to foul him again like that.
Yeah, I mean, you called it. It really looked like they were going to start the hack-a-shack early and often against Buladovic. But maybe they said, oh, they didn't say that. Maybe they said, let's see if we can come back first. But Williams now stepping up in his own right here in the fourth.
What a huge piece to the Firebirds offense to get a transfer like this, a guy that can take care of the ball, play tough defense, and shooting over 50% from 3 on the season now. Just another important piece to this offense that it's hard to stop when you don't know who's going to knock down the next shot.
Driving in, almost taken away, looking for the layup, and fouled on the way up nonetheless. Is going to be Hellwig. He'll go to the line for 2. 13 for 23 from 3, North Central. I know a lot of people may be mad they have dipped below 60%.
I think I mentioned earlier in the game that Hellwig definitely the best offensive player, and as I said that, he was clearly leading the team, but when you look at the scoring for the Cardinals, I think both Gaston and Johnson would have had something to say to me about the best offensive player for the team, because after that point on, it seemed like those other two guys really poured it in.
Yeah.
And it looks like a three-headed beast here for the Cardinals.
Lead down to 11.
This is an area I've definitely seen improvement from the Firebirds, is this late game management where sometimes they've had leads slip away and fall behind, but this year they've really been able to stay ahead, knock down the free throws they need, make the right pass, and games that have kind of slipped away from them a few years ago, they've been able to hang on to.
Well, it's the word I keep hearing this season. It's resolve. It's if we are down early, we'll find a way back. Buladovic gets every point of the rim to help him out on that one, but he'll take it. You know, whether they're up and keep a lead, whether they're down and weather the storm. That's what happened against Augustana a few days ago. Every time Augustana kept coming back, they found a way to turn things around. North Central, of course, is likely going to have one more big push on this. Again, don't forget to stick around for the post-game show. Coach Jarek Kovic to join us to recap tonight's action, and I'm sure we will talk about the three-point awareness and prowess of one North Central.
Ryan Johnson making himself big there on the defensive end and was able to slow down Gaston.
Layup and looking for a foul was Hellwig. He didn't have the ball, so I didn't quite see the contact, but nonetheless, lead down to 10. Down to A.J. Williams. So it looks like it's going to be a tale of, you know, can they get as much of the shot clock down as possible and then get fouled eventually? But as you kind of stated, if Buladovic is the one with the ball in his hand, hey, just foul him right away.
Well, you wonder there is that the defense was kind of sagged back a little bit, like they weren't going to foul him, wasted a few seconds, and when you're down 10, you need every tick of the clock that you can get. So he waited a few seconds. Buladovic blew by him, and then it's kind of like he gave up and just had to foul him there. So it seemed like if you're just going to foul him, you know, foul him earlier.
Lead stays at 10.
You can see them, a little back and forth game between Hellwig and Johnson, setting screens for each other, trying to get that open look.
Clean block from behind. Williams over to Lamb. Back to Williams. Coach Cumick not happy at all that wasn't a foul called, but from our vantage point, it was a clean pull from behind.
Yeah, And there is, as you mentioned it, he was looking for a call, and Coach Kamick for the Cardinals has just been teed up.
Yeah, and the official already said, he teed him up and said, get back. I mean, he was, for what it's worth, he was standing on the court. And you know how it is with coaching. You kind of, all right, you can have a toe on her foot or whatever, but, I mean, he was about 2 feet in, and just like that, there's only so much of an earful you can get, but again, not an easy job being an official, and that's why I'm not one.
And you wonder if this is one of those technicals that's going to galvanize the team or easily, we just gave A.J. Johnson 2 free throws, extend the lead to 12, 2 minutes left to go.
Yeah.
That technical, that comes at a tough time for the team, and if Carthage is able to get the 2 points and find another basket here, you start to wonder, is North Central going to run out of time?
Ooh.
And now an intentional foul, and Coach Kamick has just been ejected.
Well,
is it Coach Kamick or is it the player? Because he turned and looked, and he sent him out like he was Joe West. And I'm going to say at this point, North Central may have lost a little control of the game here.
Well, another thing to keep in mind is Ethan Hellwig. Hellwig not only did a fairly aggressive foul, but then immediately started walking toward and mouthing toward the Firebird player that was fouled, and the official looked back, and just like that, Kamick was already on the court again, and officials just getting control of the game, so they're sorting through all of this.
Coach Kamick was animated as he made his exit there. The crowd here at the Tarble getting a little excitement here as the game was starting to get out of hand in North Central. Is all of a sudden a foul that was called by the ref. It looked like it was an intentional foul that he called.
Yes.
You mentioned the extracurricular activities after that, and clearly Coach Kamick said something, and that was 2 quick tees. That wasn't a long time apart between those. So it was 1 quick tee, saw the intentional foul call, and he must not have said much because it was a turn and ejection from the referee. And that was, like I said, that looked like straight out of a baseball ejection. You don't see the hand get tossed as so animated as that. And
well, also not quite sure if you saw off to the side, Ethan Hellwig has now been ejected, and he's back in the locker room now. So he just walked off to the side. So coach and one of the leading is tied for leading scorer ejected. So the assistant coaching staff now of Alex Washington, Aaron Tickness, and Matt Hellwig are going to be leading things for the remaining 157. And
this is 4 free throws here.
Yeah. On top of the 2 that they just had for the first technical against head coach Kamick.
Yeah, and you can see A.J. Johnson, as he's making the free throws all by himself, he's still high-fiving like their teammates there.
All by myself.
And, it's like he's just in the backyard shooting hoops on his garage, and he knocks every one of those down. And you don't want to say it too early, but that was a huge swing in points after those technicals. And the intentional foul was called on Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
So Hellwig to get involved is definitely something that was outside of even the call and the play.
Turnaround pass underneath, Johnson to Johnson. For what it's worth, it was 85-75 with 2:56 remaining. And then next thing you know, the gates opened up, Johnson made it 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, and then finally a two-pointer. So it was.
I can't say I've seen that many points on one possession. That has got to be as rare as it comes, because it was a lot of free throws to knock them all down and then to get the bucket on top of it. Man.
8 out of the last 10 points. Free throws off a technical, and shot clock expires. But again, just to repeat, 8 out of the last 10 points. Free throws from technicals, including an ejection. And wow, there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, and now just AJ taking it away. 45 seconds to go, and we talked about Carthage being a great free throw shooting team, and what a recipe for disaster is giving them free throws and the ball after those technicals. And I wonder if coach for the Cardinals kind of saw where he's at, and he just kind of drew a line in the sand and said that was enough with what he had seen from the refs.
Johnson can't get there. A.J. Williams with the board, and that should just about do it. Reminder, stick around for the post-game show with Coach Jarakovic. You know, up until about the 3-minute mark, we were going to talk about great defense versus great offense. Boy, oh boy, do we got more to talk about now with 5, with 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's going to be it. That's going to be all she wrote. Your final in Kenosha, 95-75, a 10-point run at the end based on technicals. We're going to have a lot to talk about. Don't go anywhere. For Eric Lagur, I'm Peter Ferreri. We'll be back shortly with the postgame show on the Firebird Broadcasting Network. Welcome into the post-game show on the Firebird Broadcasting Network with Eric Elger. I'm Peter Ferreri. You know, Coach, we had our whole pregame script ready, and then the final 2 minutes and 7 seconds happened. You know, kind of talk us through what you saw on your end of things, and I'll give you credit. You stayed cool, calm, and collected through all of it.
That's what we've talked about the entire time. When you play a team, North Central is an experienced team. They've beat us up the last 2 years. There's nothing else we can say about it. And we came in with a little bit different intensity level, and I thought we kept our composure great down the stretch. Happy that A.J. Johnson stepped up and made some free throws late to kind of extend the lead. But overall, just what an effort for our guys to pick up when we're a man down. When you're missing a player who leads the conference in minutes played and has the ball in his hands a lot for us, so you needed somebody to get there. For us to have 18 assists to only 5 turnovers against a team as aggressive as North Central in the correct spots as much as they are, that's a credit to all of our guys stepping up big time today.
Yeah, handing it off now to Eric Elger. We know one thing he kept saying with the way A.J. Johnson ended, it gave him some flashbacks to one Steve Jerichovic in his own right during his playing days. But, you know, Eric, what do you have for Coach and what you saw today?
Yeah, you mentioned the free throw shooting there. Clearly a strength for your team. One question I wanted to ask you, seeing AJ knock down that many free throws, have you seen that many free throws made in a row in a possession? Is AJ a better free throw shooter than you were?
He 100% is. There's no questions about that. Still has a few more attempts to get to, but he shoots it at a better percentage. And I don't know if I've ever seen that many consecutive. He obviously earned it attacking the basket first, and then it got a little hectic at the end. But credit to our guys to keep their composure throughout and finish the game. And you're 2-0 in conference, and everyone's a grind. We talk about it every time I come up with you guys. It's a grind, and that's what the CCAW is, and it does not get easier. Now you get a top 25 team in Elmhurst who's probably playing better than anybody in the conference, and probably arguably better than anybody in the area right now.
It looked like your game plan was to continue to pound it down low, even though they were continuing to make outside shots. What did you see that North Central was presenting you on defense?
For us defensively,
it looked like you guys kept pounding it down low on offense.
We want to attack them. When they're trying to go Brian Johnson, when they're trying to play Ethan Hellwig as more of their interior players, ball's got to go inside. And Julian did a great job of finishing. Problem is, people take advantage. People scout. There's a lot of smart coaches around the league, and they found some matchups that Brian Johnson got some looks in the first half. And they didn't have to go 8 of 13 in the first half from 3, but I thought we, held serve and did a better job in the second half. I thought A.J. Williams, his defensive effort on Ethan Hellwig in the second half made all the difference in the world. He played without fouling. He's as strong of a defensive player that we have, upper body, and has that first step quickness to get there. And shoot, I'm glad Ethan's gone finally. All the Hellwigs, to be honest, because they scored 1 million points for the last 8 years, it feels like.
Yeah, last question, something that you mentioned guys having to step up. Ryan Johnson looked like he was making a huge effort on the defensive end, diving around on the floor. What did you think of his effort stepping into the starting lineup?
He's getting better and better every single day, and his growth from November 1st to December 1st has been dramatic, and now I'm excited to see what the next step is going to be for him. He's given us some valuable minutes these last 3 wins, all home games, against very good teams, 4 games now with Anderson included. So he's taken the steps we thought he was going to take. We didn't think it was going to be in a situation with one of our starters down, but he stepped up in a big, big way. He can guard 1 through 5. He can space it and shoot it, which we haven't seen that part of his game yet, but he's getting better and better every single day.
What's the rest of the week going to look like before you head over to Elmhurst?
Be ready to guard, be ready to compete. They're going to get the ball up and down the floor. They got one of the best big guys in the league in Sapinski, another team that isn't a young basketball team. They're another back-to-back 3 fifth-year starters in their starting lineup, and they got a lot of experience. They got a lot of guys that played in some big basketball games, including the Final Four a couple years ago, so they're going to be ready to compete. That was one of our better performances in their gym last year, and excited to get Antoine back for it, and we'll have 2 good days of prep and be ready for another challenge of 2 top 25 teams.
Sounds good, Coach. Congratulations on the big win,
Congrats on the win.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys.
All right, was Coach Jerichovic talking about everything that happened in that game, especially the last 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Before we sign off, Eric, final thoughts on the victory for the home Firebirds. Again, it was a 10-point lead with 2 minutes to go. Things kind of unraveled. A lot of free throws, 8 out of 10 points. Final 95-75.
Yeah, the final score doesn't really show how tight this game was for most of the game. Carthage able to, that steady offensive presence, just continue to score down low, and North Central wasn't able to keep up at the end of it, especially as he saw those technicals. And yeah, that game got blown wide open, but it was tightly contested until that point.
All right, well, that's been A fun one nonetheless, and I'm sure Carthage fans taking a breath of relief at the end, knowing that they kept things as composed as possible to not get fouled out on their own. So we're going to wrap it up here this evening. For executive producer Mike Love, for producer John Voinovich, for Allison, Matt, Jeremy, and Jessica, our directors, graphics, replay, and camera operators, this program has been a presentation of Firebird Broadcast Productions and Carthage College, copyright 2023. Once again, for my broadcast colleague Eric Elger, I'm Peter Ferreri. Firebirds win by 20. Have a good rest of your evening, everybody.
Have a good night.